Hi there, Coach Sage Canada here, sagerunning.com with a vegan diet type of rant. And I realize this isn't running related content directly per se, but I talk about diet and health and nutrition because it's all intertwined. It's all linked together. And obviously Coach Sandy and I are very passionate about plant-based lifestyle and the health benefits. And you kind of have to take a defensive position sometimes when it comes to things like when people ask you, well, where do you get your protein from? How, if I have a bad race, it's always, oh, it must be your deficient vegan diet, not any other factor. Whereas when I have a good race, it's like there's crickets there or it's some other thing that's going on. And, running's a fickle sport. You could have good or bad races regardless of your diet. And I'll say, I ran with guys in college. We ate like garbage. I was vegetarian in college, but we ate, all sorts of junk food, probably too much beer, still ran really well for a short period of time. So we're looking at long-term health benefits, and long-term performance in a demanding sport like distance running. But I think this applies to a lot of different sports because to perform well athletically, you have to have good health. And a part of that, and the key focus that I want to focus on in this talk, is the idea of bioavailable protein, or just getting enough protein, and whether or not some protein is better than others. Because what we see, and again, my bias, I was born and raised vegetarian. Everything I've done in life up to this point has been on a vegetarian diet, vegan more or less for the last 4 or 5 years, trying to be more whole foods, plant-based. And, I tweeted out the other day, people say, well, you can't run well without any meat. I've been like this my whole life. N=1 stories are not good, but, in my experience and in my opinion, I'm not a registered RD, I can't say that, but consult your doctor before trying anything new. Take my advice with a grain of salt. It's not an issue with the protein if you get a full blend of amino acids. Now, amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and there's thrown around the buzzword a lot, bioavailability. They say, oh, if you eat animal flesh, animal tissue, if you eat beef and meat and, fish or whatever, it's more bioavailable forms of protein, right? The amino acids are all the essential ones are on a line. They're all together with mammal tissue, especially, right? I believe my freshman biology teacher used to tell us, and this was back in the days of watching Soylent Green and movies like that the ideal, if you want most bioavailable form of protein source, you should eat human flesh. Of course, that's unethical and it's immoral and it causes all sorts of health problems, right? Cannibalism, not good. But the amino acids are all in a sequence. They're all in line. It's the most bioavailable form. Well, now you step down to eating other mammals' tissue and flesh, eating meat, and it is highly bioavailable. But does that mean it's actually better for you than if you were eating beans and rice and nuts and seeds and legumes, other legumes, and getting that full blend? I mean, a grain like quinoa, I don't eat very much of it at all, but it's great. It's a super grain. It has all 9 essential amino acids, right? Soy-based protein, soy products, super high on the bioavailability score, right? They've done charts with a lot of nutrition studies in there say, well, you know what? It's actually really good protein source, right? If you're getting the full blend of all 9 essential amino acids at some course after a hard workout or after running a lot, does it really matter where that protein source is coming from, right? There's little nuances with the absorption rates and things like that. But what we've seen is that there's a lot of high quality protein that can be derived from plant-based sources, complementary amino acids, building blocks of protein, blending together, and they seem to be at least on par with anything you would get from highly bioavailable meat or dairy products, right? So the myth kind of is that the protein's inferior from plant-based sources. Well, I'm saying it's just as good. It's just as good, and not only that, you, depending on the protein source and the timing, which is probably more important, is that you're getting a lot of antioxidants, you're getting a lot of vitamins and nutrients, you're rehydrating really well with plant-based types of foods, right? Fruits and vegetables, chock full of vitamins. In terms of nutrient density, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck when you eat fruits and vegetables. A lot of nutrient density per calorie, right? And if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to be eating a lot of calorie-dense foods. That being said, I love indulging in peanut butter. And the key point here is the timing is probably the most important thing. the timing. So do a hard workout. Yeah, within 15, 20 minutes, you want to be eating some calories, and you want to have some protein in those calories. And when I eat a meal, I say, oh, I'm having Mexican food tonight. Well, I'm having beans and rice. They're complementary amino acids. Earlier in the day, I had some peanut butter and I had some nuts, and, even vegetables and fruits have some amino acids in them. So your body's constantly combining those all together. Never worried about protein. Been an endurance athlete. The demands for an endurance athlete, the demands for especially a strength-based athlete, and it does depend on your genetics and whether or not you're a guy or a girl, or how big you are. It's kind of related to your body weight. If you're a strength-based athlete and you're lifting heavy weights 5 times a week, you probably need a little more protein than someone who's not doing that kind of activity. As a distance runner, you want to stay lean usually. You want lean muscle mass, right? I don't want to bulk up. People say, oh, you're skinny. I want to stay light. Sorry, but I need to repair myself, though, from running 100 miles a week, 160K a week, and not breaking down. I've been doing this sport for over 20 years. Had never had a stress fracture, never had a major muscle tear or injury take me out. Don't eat animal protein. And so, it's kind of a myth that, you need a ton of protein to be able to do endurance events and do well. And a lot of people criticize me and they say, well, Sage, if you just ate meat, you'd probably run under 2:10 in the marathon by now and make the Olympics. Maybe, I don't know, but it probably doesn't work that way. I'm going to say there's other factors that making it so that I don't run 2:10 or sub 2 hours like Kipchoge, right? There's other things at play, right? Lifestyle factors. And it's probably the same thing for you as well. But the amount of protein we actually need, most Americans eat way too much, probably, in my opinion. If you're looking at the data, you're looking at the scientific studies, and this is the important nuance here with the scientific studies, is that, a lot of times they'll cite, and this is repeated over and over, maybe 1.0, maybe 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. And that's as a functioning high-level athlete, right? You don't need over 2. You probably definitely don't need over 2. And that, I'm 145 pounds, about 65 kilograms, right? So, if I'm eating 80 grams of protein, I'm probably eating 90 grams of protein a day. Easy. And that's on a whole foods, plant-based, vegan type of diet. I don't even take supplements. A lot of people, they're like, you gotta take all these protein powders and supplements. They're taking, the whey protein. They're taking, casein protein. They're eating eggs and dairy and all sorts of stuff and meat on top of that. I don't do the protein powders. I think some are definitely better than others, and I think there's a lot of benefits in actually soy-based protein. I eat tofu a lot, tofu and tempeh and peanut butter, nuts and seeds and beans and rice, a lot of legumes, right? But the idea that you need to have animal flesh to perform optimally and to get your enough amino acids and protein, that whole bioavailability thing is not an argument, I think. When you look at the good scientific studies, and a lot of the problems with this is that people don't read through all the studies, or they're not able to assess the validity of the studies. And I'm not saying I'm a science whiz here by any means. I took some stats, I took some bio, I took some chem, I took some engineering calculus, I took, those classes in college, nutrition classes in college too, at university level. So I like reading through all the details of the study. I don't just read the headlines or some blog post or some crazy YouTube video rant like this YouTube video or a podcast and take it totally without a grain of salt, pun intended. You got to look at the data, look at the controls, look at who the study was funded by, look at the validity, how they controlled for variables, the duration of the study, the sample size of the study. The thing with nutritional science is that it's impossible to say 100% this is this and this conclusively, right? There's always these outside variables. People like to pick apart the, correlations, not causation, typically spouted. If it's controlled well, and there's a really high correlation, it can be very damning evidence. I will say that though. Or they're looking at sets of data and crunching those numbers, right? There's lies and white lies and statistics. But anyway, I digress there. I think the psychology of loss aversion is at play a lot of times when it comes to minority diets like plant-based or vegan-based diets. People are worried about being deficient in something. People are worried about not getting enough protein. They don't see the benefits of, oh, I'm getting all these antioxidants, I'm getting hydrated, I'm, getting this beneficial fiber that's good for my gut microbiome, right? It's good for colon health. Getting all these nutrients, and I could eat a larger volume, larger portion size of food and fill up on the fiber and get all those nutrients instead of worrying about clogging my arteries with a bunch of high fat and high cholesterol, right? And definitely check out Sandy's channel. She just did a top 2 vegan tips on her channel, Running Wild to Believe. I'll put a link to it there as well as in the description below. Subscribe on here if you like these types of videos. Don't worry, there'll be more directly running related content on here. Again, Coach Sandy and I like to preach the all-inclusive lifestyle choices, healthy lifestyle in running. We believe you could do it on a whole foods, plant-based diet and really thrive. So that's my rationale in here. Comment below with anything you want to comment about, but better be able to bring your science game to this because I'm a science guy. I love the numbers, love the data. Let's see what you got. All right, thanks so much. Stay tuned for more.